before I get Garry Cobb on here, got to tell you, I believe Gary's going to go down the line with me on this here. Maybe the Bears Super Bowl when they took apart the New England Patriots 46-10, and they held the Patriots to 7 rushing yards. But this was Mahomes and Reed. This was one of the greatest performances I've ever seen by a defense in a Super Bowl. Josh Sweat was the best player on the field last night. Let's bring in our friend Garry Cobb from Fox 29 and get his take on this. Garry, just your initial takeaways from that destruction last night of the of the Chiefs last night in New Orleans. Just right off the top, what's the thing that comes to your mind right now and what they did?
Defensive dominance. I thought they dominated the defense. You guys talking about the defensive line. Clearly, that was the thing that really just took over the game. Against Patrick Mahomes, they had him looking like a little kid that was playing high school football. He's standing back there in the pocket. He doesn't know where to go. And they were using what they were calling a crush rush, which is everybody's doing, basically a power rush. There's nobody using any moves to get outside so they open a lane for him. They're pushing the offensive lineman, must rush, whatever you want to call it, bull rush. A lot of guys call it bull rush, where you just taking your guy, getting up on him, and pushing him back into the quarterback's face. And you can see it was making Patrick, making him just panic. And he wasn't really looking downfield. He's looking for a place to scramble. There's no place to scramble. So I thought that they did that, and it really worked very well for them. And he never really got in this game. He did have some junk, scores at the end of the game, but that was a joke. They're in there trying to score. It's 40-6. Total humiliation. They were totally dominated, and I thought that the defense, with the fact that they took away where he wanted to go with the ball, and that crush rush that they were utilizing really got under his skin. And Patrick, on the biggest stage, he really just panicked. He was not playing like a seasoned quarterback, where he's looking for his first option, second option, third option. He really was just looking at the line, and it really was bothering him.
How about this, Garry? So cover 4 really confused him last night. They ran that 63.6% of the time in dropbacks, and he was 4-8, 23 passing yards in a pick. And they were saying how that Jalen was so far ahead of his landmarks on him reading the defenses on that side, and how Mahomes was confused. Here's another one here too, Garry. Do you realize that last night the rush pressure, they had 52.4% pressure rate last night in pass rush with no blitzes.
No blitzes.
Blitzes, and they got home 6 times on top of the fact of the hits on the quarterback. It was a complete reverse from Super Bowl 57.
Yeah, you got to give Vic Fangio, because, I don't know how he came up with this, this theory that he could utilize this type of a rush against him so effectively, but they kept things very simple against him. They're using this crush rush, and it's like he didn't know where to go with the ball. And there were a number of times guys were wide open and he misses the guy. How you going I cannot believe he missed this guy who was wide open. So, and then you saw the panic with him in the pocket. He just could not take it. And so he would panic rather than just stay back there, take his time, see where he wants to go with the ball and see if anybody's open. He really started looking at the rush, and then he started running around. So they really got him into a panic. And to see a veteran quarterback do that in a big game like this, it's amazing. But you got to give Vic Fangio and the Eagles defense the credit, because I thought they were the key to the game. They had the two, one where he got the interception where he runs back for a touchdown. The other one was the interception where he sets it up on like the 15-yard line, and the Eagles went in for the score. So the defense was the key, I thought. They played dominant football. And I heard some guys. I was talking to some guys after the game. I thought that the only way they could have done something is they needed to run the ball more, but they didn't run the ball at
No,
all. At all, they didn't run the ball. And how could a team like Kansas City, which always really is a team that's disciplined, that they don't get away from the run, but too much. They did not run the football at all. They really panicked. That's a panic move, and they never recovered. It was a dominating performance by the Eagles, and you got to give their offense credit in that they tried to take away Saquon Barkley and did a good job taking away Saquon Barkley. Did a good job against him, but they were totally vulnerable to the passing plays, and the Eagles were able to take advantage of it. So it was a lopsided win.
do you agree, Gary, that Spagnuolo's mentality was Barkley can beat us, Hurts can't? And that's kind
Yeah,
of how that played out last night.
yes,
And Hurts beat him last night. I mean,
yeah.
we can say whatever we want, and all the people in the pundits. I happen to have been one of them. But at the end of the day, here, now we're talking resume. 2 NFC championships, made the playoffs 4 years in a row. He has a Super Bowl now, a Super Bowl MVP. Gary, I know the league wants the rivalry to be Mahomes and Allen or Mahomes and Lamar. Well, these two guys are 2-2 against one another, 1-1 in Super Bowls. The rivalry, the Manning-Brady rivalry, is now the Hurts and Mahomes rivalry. I mean, that win last night for Jalen really changed a bunch of narratives about him. Do you agree? I think people may have, but I mean, how you look at him now, I mean, his resume speaks for itself.
Yeah, I think they got to give him credit. That the things that he does is he does what it takes to win, and which is a lot like Mahomes. One of the things that he has that other quarterbacks don't have, some quarterbacks do, some of them don't have, is he can tuck the ball under his arm and run like a running back. And look how it hurt Kansas City yesterday. The times he tucked that ball under his arm and took off, it cut. It was like a knife going through their heart, and you could see how they were panicked when he's taking off downfield. So he's able to do that. He can make the big throw. He's got that arm to take you deep, and then he can make the throw that needs accuracy. So he can do all what you need him to do. He doesn't do it every game. He does what it takes to win, which is a lot like Mahomes. He does what it takes to win, and that's what really Hurts did yesterday. He used his legs when he needed, because they weren't able to get their running game going really with Saquon. But those runs that Jalen Hurts had were killers. They really just cut into the heart of the Kansas City defense. They were on third downs. They led to first downs and touchdowns. And his ability to run is very important to the Eagles, and it's an ability that Mahomes has that's lethal. And yesterday that was lethal. His ability to run really hurt the Chiefs, and he can make the throws. He can do everything he can. Now you wouldn't say he's so great at one or the other. He's just good enough to win every week.
Absolutely. Gary, I
Yep.
brought this up about some of the decisions that are going to be made here. I mean, let me start here with this. How much of a wobble will this be in the offseason if you do lose Kellen Moore to the Saints as the new head coach? I mean, they're talking about Kevin Petula possibly being elevated to being the offensive coordinator. They may bring in Frank, as we mentioned last week. How
Yes.
much of a wobble do you think that'll be? Because you and I have talked. They didn't construct this team to be a run team. The money that is spent is on the perimeter and at the tight end spot. So
Yeah.
you know they're going to try to do whatever they can to kind of up the passing game, even though they won a Super Bowl being a physical football team. What kind of obstacles do they have there looking for a new OC?
Well, it's going to take a unique person, because they got to come in. He's got to be able to have a lot of guys having confidence in him, maybe without knowing him real well. If they get somebody from inside the coaching staff right now, I think that probably would be a good move, as long as that's the right person. This is something that I think what has to happen. I think Jalen probably needs to exert his power that he has right now, in that making sure, hey, we want to keep this like this. we want to keep our running game like it is. We want to stay with the same calls, and we don't want to get into a bunch of changing it with regards to that. And that's what he can do, is try to make things stay the same as much as possible. Meaning, like, if you do have a new offensive coordinator come in, where you really keep Kellen Moore's system and stay with it. And I think that Jalen has the power to do that, but he's got to step in, I think, and say, hey, this is what we want to do going forward. And talk to the other guys and get feedback from them. But the players really need to have some say about what they do going forward, because they're the ones that are going to be operating the system. They're the ones that's going to be carrying it on. So I think they need to take input from those guys. Not that the players are in control, but they should have a say in what happens going forward.
I say this to you, that I know Zach Baun's going to be a priority, but Gary, this Oren Burks kid, I know they lost to Kobe Dean. He had no drop-off in play the entire postseason, and now with Dean being injured, he's a unrestricted free agent. I don't want to go into the draft to find anybody. I have Bourne, Burks, Dean, and Trotter as my young linebacking core. I would feel pretty cool with that going into next year. Is that a kind of a priority now, because you got Dean injured? This kid Burks, man, he parachuted in. Bobby King handled him. They put him in a position. He was outstanding last night.
Well, I thought so. I don't know how they're going to do that. They haven't prioritized linebackers, even though without the linebacker play they have, they wouldn't be Super Bowl champs. So we'll see if they make a change on that. This is something that's going to be vital to this organization, is how are they going to run this going forward? Now, Zach Baun is, his agent. I was talking to him afterwards. He gave that smile and says, this is up to my agent, meaning he wants to go get some money. He knows he needs to get money now if he, in order to secure his future, because he's not a rookie. The guy's already played 4 or 5 years. I don't know if it's either 5 or 6.
I think 27, 28.
Yeah. So he wants to get a paycheck right now. And I don't know if would the Eagles be ready? I mean, how much could he command? $15 million a year?
Shit, I think 18 million. You're talking near 60.
Yeah. So, I think he could demand. I think there are teams in the league would be willing to have no problem paying him 15, 16, 17, 18 million a year. So if that's the case, I don't know that they're going to be able to keep him.
Do you think that, having spoken to his agent, do you think that they're gonna weigh homegrown, or staying in one place? Because from what I understood, Denver and Washington would be able to put the money up, because Washington has $100 million in cap space that they can just go in and parachute in and give him someone's going to over offer him. That someone's going to offer him that. Will his agent put him? Do you think this might kind of, like, I know it's 30,000 feet stuff, but just kind of listening to him, do you believe that they'll go out there in a market and maybe test it a little bit?
I definitely think they are. I mean, the way he was talking to me, it sounded like, hey, he's going to let the agent, make the call on this. And come on, the agent is going to say,
oh, yeah,
we got to go get the money, baby.
10% on I get 10% off that. You're talking $60 million. Get this. What people don't get is $60 million contract. Agent gets $6 million of that.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's salivating, thinking about it. He's been thinking about it all season. And there's no way they're going to pay him that much. I don't think the Eagles will pay him that much. That has not been, they do not pay linebackers, and to pay him the top rate of linebackers in the NFL, I don't see that happening. So it's going to be interesting. And you know what? This is going to come out right away, man, because they're going to start talking about this right away, because his name is hot. I mean, the guy went from a guy who wasn't even starting to Pro Bowl linebacker. Really, he really almost won Defensive Player of the Year.
All pro. I mean, let me ask you about two other. So last night, Josh Sweat, look, he changed agents. He's got Rosenhaus now. And you can make the argument he was the best player on the field last night. 2.5 sacks, 8 tackles last night, TFLs. I mean,
Yeah.
4 hits on the quarterback. He played his absolute best game. You're talking about, here's another guy, $18 million, $17 million. I mean, here's another guy that's going to be potentially out there. And from what we're hearing here, Josh Sweat, Patriots and Steelers would be in the conversation to try to bring him in. I mean, is he all but gone in your opinion?
I think so. The Eagles have let other guys go. I mean, just in their recent, they let him walk. When he's going to get the big bucks. They're saying, we're not going to pay that level of dollars. So they've been willing to let guys walk, which is what I think they're going to do with these guys defensively. They are quality players. I think that they feel they can get, quality in the draft. They think they can get some young players, maybe other places around the league. Some guys that come in and blossomed. I mean, in all fairness, they did it with Zach Bond. Come on, look, they brought him in, young player, a player who hadn't done anything, and they were able to get that type of production out of him. So I do think some of these guys are going to walk, and the Eagles are going to have to replace them with talent that's already on the team, or talent they're going to bring in either through the draft and through free agency. But I don't think that they're going to just decide to just throw that kind of money around to the linebackers. They haven't done it the whole time that they've been running things like this.
Do you ever think they'd drop a tag on any of these guys like Milton Williams? Would they ever put a tag and use the tag? Because they're not a real proponent of using that franchise tag players.
They haven't done that. They haven't done that. I mean, unless they change things. Now, they got to figure, hey, they're sitting there with a Super Bowl title doing things the way they have done them. And, it's been in some ways surprised people by how they let certain guys walk. But on the defensive line, they have let guys walk. They've been able to develop other players. I mean, Josh Sweat is the guys they're talking about was a guy that was developed here. Josh Sweat didn't just show up and all of a sudden he's playing, at such a high level. They developed him, and I think they can develop other players. That's where they really kind of believe in their coaching, the coaching staff. I wouldn't be surprised if people start going after more of the Eagles coaching staff too, the assistant coaches, because they've done I mean, you look at the way they have developed young players. That's really stood out to me. I mean, just in this season, you look at all the young players, the way they develop guys who come in and were contributing yesterday. Guys that are rookies came out and were contributing yesterday. Guys that hadn't played all year, and all of a sudden they're out there making plays. I'm going like, who is that just sacked the quarterback? I'm like, man, I haven't even seen these guys all year, but that says something that the Eagles believe in the way they do things, which is they try to develop young talent. They figure that is the cheapest way to get players is to find young, talented players, but you got to do a great job of coaching them and developing them. And they really believe in their coaching staff. They got some quality guys do a good job teaching.
Final question for you here. Everyone is saying now in Philly that they're set up for the next couple of years. Well, I happen to think that there's a little kryptonite in this. Do you think running Saquon Barkley, the way that you ran him this year with over 420 touches this season, do you think this way of winning is sustainable when the majority of your winning came through the run game, and you got a car now with tires on it that's got to be looking at least 40, 50,000 miles on them tires now, where you got a boatload, you've got injuries here, you got he'll be older next year as well. Do you think that this is truly sustainable? Because if you don't have Barkley back there, this is a completely different football team, defensively and offensively.
Well, I personally think that they need to lighten the load. They need to lighten the load on Barkley. And I think they got to throw the ball more. I mean, come on, look at the receivers they have. I mean, you look at the receivers they've got. They got guys that they're paying. They're some of the best in the league. We saw it yesterday. These guys can get open, and they're going to lean on Jalen probably more so than they have him throwing the ball. And that's what I think. That's what I see going forward is that they're not going to be giving the ball to Saquon more than 20 times a game. I think they're going to lighten the load on him. because they want him getting stronger as the season goes along. So I don't see them leaning on him the way they did this year. This was a unique situation, but I think that they realize that they've got a lot of quality and talented people in their passing game, and they're going to have to lean on that more, and they're going to lean on Saquon Barkley less.
I want to sneak this last one in on you here. Do you feel different about this title than you did about the 17 title? I mean, you know,
yes, it's sweeter. It's sweeter.
Tell me how. Tell me why it's sweeter.
Come on. Come on, Jalen, look at the shots. I mean, people said Jalen Hurts couldn't do it. He can't get it done. Jalen showed I can get it done because in the two games that mattered, the NFC Championship game, the Super Bowl, Jalen was the MVP in there. He was the one getting it done. I mean, Saquon didn't do a lot yesterday, but Jalen is the one that puts that ball in the end zone. So, you know, it's you got that situation, and then also defensively, you got all these young players out there that these guys aren't huge names somewhere. The best defense in football, it wasn't just huge name. Their coaching staff did a great job. So I think the Eagles got to feel like we did the most with what we had. And that's really the coaching. That's the key to running the organization is they did the most with the talent that they had. And if they do that again next year, they'll win again. But that might mean some new faces and some new names that you're going to hear. But they believe in developing young players. And really, ultimately, you got to do that because certain guys you're going to pay so much that you can't afford to pay everybody. You can't pay everybody big bucks. So you got to develop young players. And I think that they know that that's the key. And I think that's what they're going to try to do for next year, too.
I think somebody dropped some voodoo down there in New Orleans on that Kansas City team, man. They put some reverse juju or something.
Yeah, that was, I mean, they were horrible, man. I don't know what happened to those guys.
I've never seen Mahomes look that bad.
No, I've never seen him look that bad. I mean, the thing is, he's over there, and not only him, but you know, it just seemed like the other guys on the bench, the offense.
Kelce looked terrible.
Kelce looked horrible, but they looked like they never been in this situation. All they were doing was just this power rush against them, and they panicked. They panicked, man. They couldn't throw the ball in the ocean. It's amazing.
I could not believe how much they got their heads kicked in last night. And on both sides of the football, man, they just got taken apart. Garry, right? First quarter, 120 yards in offense. You want to hear something crazy at the half? The Eagles had more points than the Kansas City Chiefs had in total yards with 23.
Not, when you think about that, is that amazing or what?
I've never heard of that in an NFL game.
I mean, golly, here you got a goose egg up there in the Super Bowl, and you're supposed to be one of the two best teams in the league, and you can't even score. In fact, you haven't even hardly moved the ball for a first down. I mean, you are horrible, and you're going to do this in front of the nation. I know Andy Reid felt bad about that, man. That was ugly, man.
Hey, that was ugly, man. Garry, thank you so much for taking time, man, and getting a firsthand perspective. How was the game last night, man? I mean, after a while, you had to be sitting there in the press box going, "Hey, man, there's not much to talk about." After a while,
I mean, the people were going crazy. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. That they were seeing Mahomes play this poorly. Come on, he looked like a rookie out there.
He did.
He was horrible. I mean, and you know what's that?
6 sacks.
I know 6 sacks, and he's running in a circle. You see the different times. He's like he's panicking, running in a circle, man. What are you doing? He had to feel bad about the way he played, man. He had to feel bad about that, and the fact that they didn't even try to run the ball some.
No, they did it, man. It was terrible last night.
But the ring is the ring, and the boys got the ring, and so everybody's happy this way, man.
Absolutely.
The guys are so, man. They were cutting up afterwards in the locker room, and
how was the locker room after?
Just total exuberance, man. Guys were just. I mean, you could have saw the guys were in there, chugging beer, man. These guys were having a ball in
Hey,
there, boy.
Barkley looks like he looks like Barkley can down a few beers, man. He was in there gunning some
Hey,
beers. I'm very proud of him.
they were throwing back, man. They really just let it go. And this was a sweet one, man, because a lot of people questioned this team. And you see the way they started off at the beginning of the season.
It was
For
good.
them to turn around the way they did, they deserve all the credit, man. They did it. They
Absolutely.
proved us all wrong, whatever criticism. The guys got it done, man.
They surely did. Garry, you have a safe trip back, my friend. I so appreciate you doing this. Thank you. I appreciate it, brother.
All right. Hey, have a good one.
You got it. Great Garry Cobb live from New Orleans, giving us a perspective there. By the way, so last night we're watching the Super Bowl. My wife goes, look at that gaudy watch that Brady's wearing calling the game. And I'm going like, that's a brick. Zander will know what a brick is. That watch is $750,000 on Tom Brady's wrist. It's a house. Brady had a house on his wrist last night. I'm sitting there watching this thing, and I go, that's a brick. I know it's a brick. I go, that's a brick, man. And my wife goes, what do you mean? I go, that thing's between $350,000 and $700,000 that he had on his wrist. Okay? If you ever know what a brick is, that's what that is. Those are custom jobbies, man. Look at that gaudy watch he's wearing. Where did he buy that? At a pawn shop? Or where did he get that? At a flea market? I'm like, dog. It's right. Yale's right. It's littered in diamonds, and it's called a brick. Yeah. Holy cow. Hey, look how close we are right now to 800 likes. Guys, we're at 700 almost, 694 right now. I'm going to take a time out here. I want to thank our good friends at BetUS this football season. They have been absolutely incredible with our YouTube 150. Great stuff for all to have going along with us for this ride with our friends at BetUS. Make sure you do me a favor and you go along with the YouTube 150, second and third. If you guys are going to make bets on any sporting event, your signing bonuses are up to $2K. If you're into crypto, that goes up to 200% as well to your signing bonuses. Go to betus.com.pa. That's betus.com.pa. Fastest payouts in the business. 24/7 personalized service, 365 days of the year. Live wagering on all major games. Go to betus.com.pa. That's betus.com.pa. And do me a favor. You tell them Big Sil sent you.